Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
You know, Joe Karp, who is waiting to talk to us, is an elder law attorney, one of the finest elder law attorneys probably in America. And I was thinking about that because he's actually our oldest, not in age, but our oldest advertiser who I have learned so much about what you should be doing as you age with your documents. And Joe Karp, thank you so much. You are really an amazing man.
Well, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. And your column in our October issue. So you're getting married again. That was fantastic.
Well, there's a lot of that going around.
I know that. But you had very good advice in that column.
Well, thank you. We try to give good advice. Although I am a lawyer, and people always think lawyers are either going to be involved in lawsuits or documents, but for the most part, they don't understand that lawyers should be, in an ideal world, advice givers. Our business cards all say, although it's the Karp Law Firm, all of our business cards say counselor at law, because we're trying to give counsel. We're trying to give people the way to deal with their lives as they age or as their family members age, and avoid lawsuits and avoid the court system and avoid complications, and to simplify their affairs, if you will, or to decomplicate them.
And, you know, Joe, one way...
marriages are a biggie.
Right, and one way people could do that, and it won't cost them anything, is to attend your seminars. And Joe Karp he created having seminars. There are a lot of other people that do this now, but when Joe started, there weren't a lot of these happening, and he religiously had seminars every single month and educated people, and he still continues after all these years, and we have some coming up in November, which I want everyone to get their pencils out. Please go to one of his seminars. It's the best.
They'll be the last for the year. We're not doing any in December. We used to do them every month. So
okay, let's do it. Let's
give people heads up.
Okay, heads up.
You have the dates, or?
Yep, I do. I have everything right here. I'm really prepared today.
I'm impressed.
Okay. Tuesday, November the 15th from 1:30 to 4, right up there in Palm Beach Gardens at the Marriott. Beautiful hotel, and Joe really does a great job. Then we have Wednesday, November 16th, 1:30 to 4. It's a long time because you will be mesmerized by what he has to tell you. And that's the Courtyard by Marriott in Boynton Beach. So you're up in Palm Beach Gardens, or you can come down to Boynton Beach if you want to go to both. There's no charge. You can just go. Then, for those of you who live way up north and you want to go to the one in Port St. Lucie, there's one in the Holiday Inn, and that's on Thursday, November 17th, 1:30 to 4. And let me say, it's a lovely place up there in Port St. Lucie. You may want to go and maybe have lunch up there and then go over to the lecture. No reservations are required. You just go and you just get a seat and sit down and be mesmerized. Now, let me give you his phone number. I'm doing this early, Joe, because I don't want people, they've said to me, well, you don't give the phone number, you don't tell us. I said, okay, here I go. So the phone number is 1-800-893-9911. 1-800-893-9911. Now, you want to make an appointment with Joe, you can use that, but you don't need reservations to go. But I'll tell you what the best thing to do is to go on his website, which is karplaw.com. That's Karp. law.com. You'll see so much. He puts a lot of good things on his website. He has a blog. He's quite a guy. You will not forget. It's called Senior Survival Workshops. You'll hear the latest tax laws, the Medicaid laws. Don't listen to your neighbors. Go and get the scoop from Joe Karp. Okay, Joe, tell us about getting married again.
Well, getting married again is a reality that many of my clients decide to do, and I'm an advocate of it. I think that if you have lost a spouse either through death or divorce, if you find the right person and you want to make a commitment to that person to be their spouse and to have all of the things that psychologically as well as legally encounters, then it's a good decision. First of all, so we're clear, if you decide not to get married, in Florida there's no palimony or anything like that. So if you decide not to get married, then you should just have an agreement that's an understanding. And that agreement should be drafted also by a lawyer, although people don't think so, because if you say, well, he'll just move into my house, and if it doesn't work out, I'll throw him out. Well, the answer is, by the way, legally you can't just throw him out. He's not a tenant, so you can't even evict him. You actually have to file if he doesn't want to leave voluntarily, he had the right to be there. He's there, and you can't evict him because he's not a tenant, so you actually have to file a lawsuit in circuit court called an ejectment. Think about a squatter moving into your house if you're out of town and you come in. You can't, if it's, and remember, this person didn't come in as a trespasser, so it gets to be difficult. And how we're going to pay bills, etc. But many of my clients decide that although when their daughter, my clients who are in their 80s, who say, when my daughter was in her 20s and she started to live with her boyfriend, I was so embarrassed, I'm so ashamed. And now that they're 80, they're saying, I'm not going to get married. My daughter's lived with her boyfriend. My granddaughters are living with their boyfriend. I'm going to live with my boyfriend. And that's fine, and that decomplicates things legally. Of course, there's still the emotional connection. The next thing is, what if you decide you want to get married? And for many people, that is a very symbolic, emotional, and psychological commitment that they want to make.
Joe, before you go on with that, wait, I want to move back to the people living together. I have found lately, though, when people don't have a document like you've just suggested, and one of them dies, the kids come in, and they just move that person gone. I mean, what kind of protection do you do so that the person who is the spouse of the deceased isn't treated like trash?
Well, we'll talk about that. Well, if there's, first of all, I don't do prenuptial and postnuptial agreements. I make people go to family law attorneys because you want somebody who does that for a living, who knows how to make them and break them. So we always say you need to see a family law attorney because that's not what I specialize in. That's not what I stay on top of. And people should create those agreements, and they should be pretty clear. And then there should be some understandings, and some of which that I wrote in the column and many that I didn't, and I'll talk about some of them that people never think of. And I have people who come in who are living with somebody and they haven't addressed it in the trust. So those are important things, how you handle it. Because the kids can come in, and there's the other thing we see frequently is when somebody is living with somebody else who's not their spouse, and the parent, one of the two people is not doing well, they're not faring well. And the kids, let's assume their genuine concern. Let's not portray them as evildoers or greedy. They're concerned. And mom is living with her significant other of 10, 12 years. The significant other is aging. He is, as all of us are or aren't, he's not as sharp as he used to be. Well, that goes with the territory somewhere past 50. Okay, we lose some of our acumen, whether we start to lose some mobility, and slowly but surely, we're not who we used to be. We're not as sharp, even though we're damn sharp. And then he starts to slow down, but she's really starting to slow down. And she's in a far more deteriorated state than him. But he's saying, as many married couples have when they're married 60 years, he's saying to the kids, don't worry about your mother. She'll be fine. She's with me. But they say, you don't know how she needs to be bathed. She needs to be taken to bed. Don't worry about your mother. And all of a sudden, they are starting to perceive some form of neglect that not malicious, just, my mother isn't being properly taken care of. And this is not their dad. It is not her husband of 45 years, but rather it's her second husband whose age to the kids thought was okay, but not somebody they have that same intimate feeling or respect for as their father. And all of a sudden they show up and they put mom on a plane and she's in New Jersey in a day and a half. Or they've hired a lawyer to throw him out of the house and get things going because they want to get in charge of her money so that they can use it for her care. And those are things that can be taken care of, A, in an agreement, and B, in establishing trust that say in healthcare documents and say who's in charge. And the lawyer, as I do, says to and frequently we don't represent the husband and the wife, but sometimes we do, but they waive that conflict of interest. We'll say, if you can't make your own medical decisions, who do you want to be in charge? And then they say their husband. I said, do you think your kids will be a problem? And sometimes they say, absolutely not. Or sometimes they say, absolutely. That's why I want to name my husband. I have good faith in him. He is more involved in my life. If he says, well, they'd be better at it, but they're in New Jersey, I say, pick the person you trust to do the right thing by you. Don't worry about geography. So these are issues to be discussed, and these are things that should be put in legal documents. The same thing, many of my clients who have revocable living trusts come in and they say, this is a frequent thing, they say in their trust they're living with somebody, they own the house, it's in their trust, and it says, when I die, my significant other, my Phyllis, so long as she was living with me at the time of my death, can live in my house for the rest of her life so long as she pays all of the costs attendant to maintaining it. She has to pay the homeowner's fees, insurance, repairs, taxes, and she can stay there, whatever it is. And they'll put that in. But my son or my daughter will be in charge of the trust, and they may make some economic provision for her as well. And then I say, so if you're disabled and you end up unable to handle your own affairs and your son's in charge, he can sell this house because you're not dead. You've given Phyllis no rights during your lifetime.
Exactly.
You've only given her rights during your death time.
Right.
Do you realize that they can say we're selling the house and moving Dad into assisted living?
Right.
They're the trustees of the trust. So are you going to make provisions for Phyllis that she can live in there during your lifetime? And during your lifetime, who pays the cost if you're disabled?
But you do a document for that, don't you, Joe? I mean,
we incorporate all of that in the trust.
Okay.
So we say, but the number of people who come in with trust that are living together, where it's in one person's trust or the other, they have not clarified that. They have not addressed that issue. They have not said that, oh, wait a minute, and sometimes they say, well, I don't know what I want to do. And I say, well, if you're in a nursing home, do you want your significant other to be able to live there as long as he or she is living there alone? Do you think are your kids going to come visit you, or is this the person who's going to visit you? Are you going to make your boyfriend or girlfriend move to be closer to their children out of the area because they have no place to stay because this is the deal you cut? You said sell your condo and move in with me, and you can live there after I die. That sounds really good, but they forgot, what if I'm not in charge before I die? And it says, as long as we were still living together. What if you spend a year in a nursing home before you die? You weren't living together. She was residing in your home.
Amazing. And wait, I'm going to throw something else in. What if you're in a nursing home, maybe you have Alzheimer's, and she now has a boyfriend in that house? Is that
Well,
okay?
you can put in the trust she can only live there with somebody she can only live there alone, or she can't live there unless she's living there with somebody of her blood. So she could have her daughter living in there helping her, but she can't have her boyfriend living there, or she can't and unless it's a licensed nurse or attendant, and you've got to deal with those issues. And then I've had other people. I got to tell you, my favorite story is sort of, I'm a romantic, and I'm also very, very understanding. And I had a client came in, and we talked about this, and his significant other was not there. And many of the men, but even the women too, but many of the men, because they always think they're going to die first, say, she can live there with the question you asked, as long as she's not living there with another guy, right?
Yep.
That's a common. And I said to a client who said she can live there for the rest of her life, I said, would you like it to say, so long as she's not living there with somebody who is not of her blood, so she could have her daughter move in or something like that? And he said, after my wife died, my life was a vacuum and a void. She came into my life, and we have been together 3 years, and she has brought me meaningful life and pleasure and joy for the last 3 years. If I die, why would I want her to be deprived of that as well?
Wow.
Why would I want her to be alone just so my kids can get the house sooner?
That's lovely. That's lovely.
He said, hell no. I want her to have the same kind of pleasure from somebody else that she brought to me. Of course she can live with whomever she wants.
Wow. Nice man.
Isn't it? So and your instinct was the very common instinct. Well, I don't want her living with another guy.
Right.
And no, but I'm serious. That is
I agree.
The normal instinctive behavior. So, and I share this to show you one other thing. How much I learned from my clients.
Yep.
Because I had lost that perspective.
Yep. Very
and
good.
Now
I'm glad
I
you did
that
this.
Perspective.
Yeah, that's lovely. And I guess it goes the same way with the woman. A woman who goes and she says, well,
it's a gender-neutral term.
Yeah.
But that was his attitude. He said, she brought me 3 years of happiness so far. Why would I deprive her of happiness for the rest of her life?
That's true love, Joe.
And true appreciation and true gratitude and the answer is, hell yeah, if she's paying to maintain it, let the kids wait to inherit their money. It isn't their money. It's his money.
Right. I love this. I think this show is very important. I'm sure a lot of people are sitting there listening and saying, well, maybe put that way, that is a good thing. We don't, and of course the kids would go crazy. They'd say, oh, how can you do that and all, but.
Oh, I think you can tell the kids.
Right.
You can say to the kids, look, I'm living with so-and-so. That is the best thing that ever happened to you because you think I'm a pain in the butt. I'd be bemoaning. After your mother or father died, I was on the phone with you. Woe is me. You were guilty. What can I do?
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to face tomorrow.
Right.
I'm so bored. I'm so lonely. I'm so depressed. And all of a sudden I called you up and I said, I found this nice person. We get along well. And now all of a sudden we're living together. And now when you call me, I'm too busy because I'm going out to play cards or we're going to dinner with friends or we're going on a little cruise and we're doing all this wonderful stuff. You owe this woman or man big time because they brought happiness to my life and relieved you of the torture of my misery.
Joe, how about next? I really hope that your next article is on this subject, the way you put it. It's beautiful. It's so lovely. And
I got to tell you, unless I change it, it won't be, but yes.
Okay.
So now we're talking about what if you do get married? Well, if you do get married, you have to understand your spouse has legal rights. And if you don't address those rights, you may be doing something, and your word is not your bond. Here's the problem. First of all, even if your word is your bond, you come to an agreement with your significant other, your new spouse, and you say, look, we don't need a prenuptial. Everything that's mine is mine. Everything that's yours is yours. And when I die, you're going to move out of the house. You're going to go be up with your daughter, and you'll live off your money, and I'll live off. My kids will get my money and my house, etc. And you're an honorable person. Okay. Number one, if that person's honorable, they can do that. They can honor that oral agreement. But if they are no longer honorable, or circumstances have changed, or they're disabled and their kid is in charge of all of their decision-making and their kid is their power of attorney, their kid's going to find out they have the right to half your house.
Right.
They can not only live in it for the rest of their lives if they want, but they can say, I don't want to live here. Sell it. I want half the money. And I want 30% of his assets. I want all of that. And there's no paperwork, no agreement to the contrary. All of a sudden, those kids are doing right by their parents. My mother's coming up to New Jersey because her husband died. He didn't leave her squat. She was his caregiver for 2 years. Mom, nobody ever thought you would be doing that. So there's any number of influences that will change the picture.
Yes.
So the agreement's got to be the agreement. And understand one thing about the agreement. The agreement sets the minimum terms, not the maximum. So it's, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do this, but I can do it. I don't have to, you give up any rights to my house. You give any rights up to, again, claims against my estate. You can still leave the house in your estate, you can leave all your money, but you can change your mind. So I'm less worried about divorce when you're an octogenarian or septuagenarian getting into a second marriage. I'm not worried about alimony. I'm worried about what happens to your money if you become disabled or when you die, and what's going to happen to your affairs. And the other important thing, forgetting about the technical protections, the right, it's the battle you're eliminating. Your kids and your spouse will not be in a battle. The terms are clear. It's understood. It's understood. And in some miraculous situations, the families get along and they do the right thing. But I can tell you, that's not what I see as a general rule.
And I want to interrupt here because lately, I don't know if it's it's almost like a disease that I'm speaking to more people who are having problems. They're taking care of their mother or father, and either their brother or sister or other people, other family members are coming down like hawks, and they're causing more problems. And so many of the things you have written and said over the years all come to pass unless it's all written down correctly in the way that you suggest. It's out there.
And it is incredible. I mean, I sometimes say things that are inappropriate and nasty. But the nastiest thing I've ever said
yes,
was to do two daughters with their mother in the room, and the mother was failing, and they were fighting over everything with the mother in the room.
Oh, God.
And I turned to the two of them, and I said, even buzzards don't dive on the carcass until it's dead.
Remember Zorba the Creek? Do you remember that when they all came in? I think that was the movie before the person died, and they're taking everything they can.
But these two ladies were just circling the mother, fighting over everything, and the lady was still alive.
Amazing, Joe.
And I'm not even telling you, she was alive and older, but not even failing. They were fighting over everything. I want this, I want that.
Amazing.
And it's not yours.
Right. Oh, my. Well,
anyway,
you're the perfect
for
lawyer
for
this,
married,
though.
They do need to do a prenuptial. If you're married and you haven't done one, you can do a postnuptial. I'm telling you, it'll save both of your families a lot of grief, because the one who dies or becomes disabled, his or her kids are going to go to battle to protect him, frequently. The one who survives or is still competent and healthy, their kids say, Mom, Dad, you got to do this. You got to protect yourself. Look at all the stuff you did. And you know, if you're in a marriage, you do a ton of stuff for your spouse.
Yep.
I mean, and you're not getting compensated for it. And all of a sudden, when you die or when you end up in a nursing home, the kids say to the other surviving, the healthier surviving spouse, you're entitled. Look at all you did. And the answer is, you probably are. But if it doesn't say it, you don't get it, or they're not entitled. I mean, I've had the other case where the client's children have been called up. Pick up your mother. Get her out of here.
I've heard about that too.
Frequently it comes,
yeah.
and quickly there's the other one, which is really the sincere, honest one. Pick up your mother. My father is killing himself trying to care for her. He doesn't understand it. He cannot do it. He's going to die. He is not a competent caregiver. Your mother deserves your help.
Yep. I know.
And we're battling with our father to give up. You've got to help us by coming down. So not all of it is done by greed.
No,
and
I know.
The other thing is people should make sure who's got their durable power attorney, who's got their healthcare decision-making power.
So, Joe,
let
me wait. I don't want to lose. I know you could go on and on, but I want to tell everybody about the senior survival workshops. You're going to hear all this at these workshops. Please go. Tuesday, November 15th, 1:30 to 4 at the Palm Beach Gardens Marriott. Wednesday, November 16th, 1:30 to 4. It's the Courtyard by Marriott, Boynton Beach. And Thursday, November 17th, 1:30 to 4, Port St. Lucie Holiday Inn. For information, go to karplaw.com, KARPLAW. These are the last seminars for the year. Joe, thank you so much. You are absolutely an astonishing star.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for having me on your
Always a pleasure, Joe, so much so.
Okay, take care. Be well.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.